match is actually going to be going up against Fornot in the next round.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be exciting. We saw Fornot the other day. We saw how they've improved as a team. They are missing a lot of players from their old roster. There's been a lot of changes for Fornot, but they actually looked kind of strong. So it was interesting to see them. The Jace ban coming out, I was hoping that they would ban it. Like, that's something that just needs to happen against Mono, considering how strong Balls has been in the top lane. And when you see a Jace in play, you just have to get rid of it. It's just so difficult to play against, and they're pushing strategies. A lot of it factors in with Jace. Like, they need Jace in order to make that work. So we'll see what they continue to ban. But it's definitely going to be an exciting match. I would like to see what we can see out of Normal Stars. The previous match, it wasn't against the same top tier of competition. So we don't exactly know where Normal Stars is as a team right now. They are fairly new, but this is going to be their coming out party. This is going to see, can you sit up with the big dogs? Can you hang with Muffin Cutie, Aframu, the likes of these guys?
But then again, there are a lot of brand new, fresh teams here, and Team Elo Blade. This was their first. The EU qualifier was their first real showing into the pro scene together as a team, and they just happened to win their first big tournament, and they're going to be coming to IPL5. So for Lord and all those guys coming in, Rengar going to be the last ban. He's been quite the powerful dude lately. Since the hotfix, popularity just skyrocketed, just completely through the roof. And I think his win percentage just after the hotfix, he was in like the low 40s to I was talking to Nick earlier, to like a 62% win rate, even better than Rumble in his heyday.
Yeah, no, the Rengar has been so strong recently. We've seen jungle Rengar with Nick Wu, how strong, that's been working out for him. We've seen top Rengar, all sorts of things. They do pick up Nunu right off the bat, so we had seen in the past Short Dog, he has played Nunu before, so he is a very strong jungler, but we'll see. There is a lot of versatility for Mono right now. They have that Morgana. We talked about how they do run Morgana support sometimes. Yorick could still work with that comp, but they have a lot of options right now. They aren't necessarily pigeonholed into that comp yet. They have a lot of flexibility. Ezreal will work out well. The number one thing for Ezreal, not only is he the best AD carry in the game, arguably, he's just an absolute monster, but against those skill shot champions, Varus and Morgana, if Mono does actually go with that comp, they want to have a bot lane that is very mobile or tanky enough to deal with the damage. So Ezreal, he has that mobility, should be pretty safe. Soraka could be a little scary, though, so we'll see. Actually, like the Sona pick a little bit better.
Scarier.
They're both pretty scary.
They're both ridiculously scary. It's just either the seemingly infinite mana or just the absolute hell of a poke that you have there in the bot lane. Well, either one is a bad situation.
The concern for them is if they get caught out of position, because both Soraka and Sona, they aren't very survivable. And Sona in particular, Soraka, she sits a little bit further back. She's a little bit more passive. It would be a very passive lane. It would be about Ezreal just kind of farming. But if they do go with that aggressive bot lane and pick off Sona, Sona will almost certainly go down. And you really rely on Sona's harass, which puts her at the front line. It puts her a little bit out of position. So we'll see whether or not they go with that. Aframu locking in. Welcome to the League of Draven. I love Aframu's Draven. We've seen it so many times in the past. Nick Allen is sitting in this room. He is fist pumping. He is like, boom, we have it. So that's going to be cool.
We've seen Aframu run Draven before. To mixed success, though. So Draven's a very volatile AD. Sometimes you're just not quite sure what you're going to get. But the damage output is absolutely there. And for someone who's had enough time to actually study it with the champ, he's still, in the grand scheme of things, still relatively new. Especially in a world of AD carries where, for pretty much in tournament play, you only pick one of three. So very, very ballsy move.
Yeah, Aframu, he doesn't really care what anyone else is playing. He marches to the beat of his own drummer. So that's always going to be exciting to see. They could go with that Morgana Draven bot lane, but we'll have to see. It would allow them to get a mid like Vladimir or Karthus, who would give them a little bit more damage. And actually, JPEG potentially picking up Karthus, or for his team. So that kind of takes it out of their hands, because Karthus actually would be a decent pick for Mono right now.
I am thinking, though, is there a potential to actually be a support Yorick?
It could be a support Yorick. I haven't ever seen Mono run it, and Muffin Cutie's playstyle, he tends to play more aggressive supports, and they are running the comp, so there's the Katarina. We were kind of wondering the whole time whether it would happen. They waited until the very last second, and there's a huge lack of CC for Normal Stars' team right now. Just absolutely, None, really. It comes down to Sona.
Ult. It's Sona
It
ult
is
and
completely
Sona
Sona.
ult only.
And that is going to be extremely dangerous for them. Not only that, but Karthus is such a passive mid lane. Katarina is a perfect matchup for Karthus. The immobility of Katarina when she's using her ultimate, it will leave her open to those layaways from Karthus, but just get on in there. Mandatory Cloud, pick up some kills. That's going to be really nasty for them to deal with.
It's really a game of math, actually, a game of high level and very quick math. Is Katarina, can you do more damage than what you're receiving from what will absolutely be a wall of pain followed up by a good 2, 3, 4 Skittles while you're trying to get your ult down? And there is a point where yes, that is indeed the case. You will get the proper farm on Cat, you'll get the DFG also to just layer on all of that hurt. But until then, though, it's a bit of a range farm game, which Katarina can absolutely do. You have the bouncing blades; it's going to be fine. And let's actually take a quick look also at Mandatory Cloud's page to see what he's running for any prospective Katarina players.
Oh, 2,800 Mandatory Cloud. I want to see him hit 3K. We need more 3Ks. There's not a lot of time. It's actually probably impossible at this point because of how many games you need to play. But, yeah, we'll see where he can go. It is a very interesting strategy. They have Yorick. Yorick, he's tanky. He can control the top lane very well, but he sets up the fights. So Yorick, he baits people in. 25 armor pen on Aframu. Yeah, that is absolutely brutal.
And, of course, I mean, he's going for the percentage and the +3.
That's kind of wild. Usually you expect to see most AD carries bot. A lot of times people will just skip armor pen to just go straight AD. And with Draven, since he scales so well off of AD, you usually expect to see that. But that armor pen is going to be really devastating. Yeah. So he is doing true damage for the first 20 minutes of the game, basically. Yeah. No AD carry or anyone gets enough armor to account for that much armor pen.
But there was a time, though, not too long ago, like just early this year, where there's a transition from ADs from going armor pen runes to actual AD runes. And there are trade-offs in there, but mostly the switch to AD was really a result into just make last hitting easier, make farming easier. Because you're not just it's not going to be a straight out all out brawl fest there. But yes, because Draven, he does have that amazing damage output. Plus he's going to have that hard CC with Morgana there with him in the bot lane. It's essentially you get a bind, you get free damage. You might as well make it true damage.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting to watch. Now, Morgana as a support, you don't see her a lot. Mono, we had seen her some in the past. She's been played occasionally. I think Dignitas, like a year ago, they probably played her some. I don't mean recently. It's really it's only Mono recently. But Mono, they have been pulling her out. She is not the greatest support in the game for a couple of reasons. There's reasons why people don't play Morgana every game. Because you look at her, you're like, she gives you a black shield. You're immune to CC. Oh, oh my God, this is incredible. She has multiple disables. Oh my God. Why is not everyone not playing Morgana every single game? The number one concern with Morgana as support is she doesn't have consistent damage. She doesn't have that guaranteed harass, whereas a lot of other supports, Sona walks in, she just hits Q. Once she's in range, she has that auto lock. Morgana, if you don't hit the snare, then you don't have any sort of harass and you don't have any healing regen, and that makes you Morgana actually lose almost every single lane matchup in the game. If you don't play the skill matchup correctly. However, you have the black shield to protect your AD carry. That's absolutely huge. If you do hit the snare, then that's massive. You can get some quick kills. Draven as an AD carry, he is strong enough to carry Morgana through the early levels, and Morgana as a support is kind of weak in the early levels of the game. But Draven is so powerful since he's probably the strongest AD carry in level 1 and level 2 with his damage output. He puts on pressure on the other team so they can't harass down Morgana when she's before she gets cooldown reduction, gets into her abilities. And then later on, if Morgana does hit a bind, she follows it up with her ultimate. Draven is just going to insta-kill whoever is there. They're going to drop very, very quickly. So that is a very aggressive lane that normal Stars is going to have to deal with. They do have Ezreal Sona. That is a very strong lane combo. But we'll see if they can win that matchup. It really is a skill matchup, and they win the harass early on against Morgana. But once those binds start coming off, they have to be ready for them.
So last time we saw Ferus actually play this, it was in the semifinals for last qualifier. They were up against Invictus Gaming. Morgana and Katarina, they were the consistent ones, but there were the remainder of the puzzle was drastically different. Malphite, Varus, and Aurelia. So instead, we got Skarner, we got Yorick, and we got Draven. What does this setup have different that we didn't see last time?
Well, they still have really strong pick-off potential. They have the Skarner. He can control this fight. He's that tanky front line. he's going to be able to grab someone, pick off a kill. That's going to be huge against, especially considering so much of the damage for normal stars is featured into Karthus and Ezreal. So if Skarner is able to pick up either of them, then normal stars is going to be crushed through the mid game. So that's always, a really good situation for Skarner. But Skarner also has, really great mobility. He's just a really strong champion through the early portions of the game. Yorick, on the other hand, is interesting because Yorick, I always like comparing him to, I'm trying to remember the name for it. It's the like lanternfish. I can't remember the name.
Anglerfish.
Anglerfish. Thank you. I've used that before, and he's an anglerfish. That's what Yorick is as a champion. You actually look at him. They designed him to look like an anglerfish, and he's a tanky body that baits the enemy in. He's going to be able to start off the fight. He can with Skarner try and bait the enemy in, pull them in. And once they're turned to focus Yorick, then you get the follow up with Morgana, and then Katarina can jump in, try and burst someone down, and then they have Draven on the end to pick people off. So it really is. They want to set up those AoE fights, pick people off, and then allow Draven to snowball a fight, which is his big strength to win the end of that fight. Normal stars, on the other hand, they have this AoE lineup with Karthus, but they also have Ezreal for that great survivability. So they want to be able to control the front line, not allow Katarina to do her job, and that's going to be the key thing: is shutting down Katarina before she can get any burst damage, and not allowing Mono to snowball fights, because both Katarina and Draven are very good at once everyone's kind of low, just cleaning house.
So you did see Morgana earlier start off throwing a bind into the bush, make sure no one's there. Wanted that ward right in front of the Wraith camp, where you see the stars a little bit more of a defensive warding position, and very early on, 2 wards straight out, wanting to protect the top lane. I think they're a little bit worried that Olaf may get caught out a little early, but also maybe even thinking that a lane swap could be a possibility, but that will not be the case. You do have Yorick, though, balls. He's getting a little bit aggressive, does get vision onto the Olaf, and you got Nunu not too far behind. Short Dog going to be starting up on to the blue buff, but I don't think Yorick maybe dipping in and out. He's looking for the seal, and the resets, unfortunately, just did eke out a little bit past the blue buff's wandering range.
Yeah,
and when that happens,
Nunu actually, he kind of body blocked, and the reset rules, it's actually interesting. He might have not had to use his smite there. It looked like he was going to get a smiteless blue buff, which would have allowed him to jungle incredibly quickly and keep up that advantage over Skarner. Though Skarner's a very fast jungler himself. However, the blue buff, it resets all the way back after it pulls 3 times out of range. And once you pull it out of range, it's going to try and re-aggro someone. But what happens is, if you have someone body blocking like Nunu, he was stuck on the minions, the blue buff, it kind of just runs around in circles and doesn't attack anyone. And so it does an instant reset 3 times and auto goes back. So they will have to back off. Aphromoot is taking a lot of damage, though. There's the Ignite on him as well, but the first blood goes down. Aphromoot backs off. Really nice play. And then the bind from Muffin QD as well. He's almost picking up JPEG. Will at the very least be able to bully him outside of that lane.
And
he's going for it, though.
Very close. Very close. JPEG almost dying that one. 408 also getting choked out huge by balls here in the top lane. What is going on here for the normal stars? Just huge damage in all 3 lanes. Even see Mandatory Cloud with the harass on the Jintei. Very, forcing him to use those potions, forcing him to use those early. Olaf, he has no potions left. He drank all 3 of them.
Oh, that's brutal.
I mean, you'd think he's Broloff, just the potions stuck on the hat. He's just chugging away. Yeah. But it's his balls we're talking about here with Yorick, with all that harass. It's going to be a rough time for Olaf.
He needs someone to re-beer him.
He does. He needs someone to reload on him.
He's sitting up there and he's yelling to his team, yo, beer me. Another bind onto nothing here. Aphromoot gets some nice damage.
Jeez.
So I'm a little bit surprised they used the wards early on and that they were so defensive, because there's not that strong of a team level 1 for Mono. But, it does kind of throw them behind on how many wards Sona has. And we've seen, how many wards JPEG likes to buy in the previous match. But we'll see where they go with that. The Vamp Scepter on Aphromoot will help him out against, considering the fact that he doesn't have a heal with Morgana. So any sort of harass, usually would be very effective against a Morgana lane. And you would be able to bully down Draven a little bit, but he is going to be safe there. And so far, top lane balls, like we've seen, has done a really nice job. And Olaf, should be fairly safe against that lane, but Yorick does have a really nice early advantage against almost all bruisers and most laners, though he did receive some nerfs recently. So the movement speed to his goals, it's a little bit harder for those to chase and do quite as much damage.
Yeah, it was mostly there for the follow-up damage after the initial hit, because sometimes
and that was annoying as hell.
It was annoying. It was, and that was one of the things that made Yorick that annoying, is the fact that you get the ghouls to come in and they would keep following you. So at least now, until they're maxed out, you have a better chance just to get away from them. But it's still annoying to deal with, and as you're seeing, 408's having a little bit of trouble there top lane still. You got Mono.Ferus right on the tail end of that bush. Gets the bind down to nothing here, but Aftermoon not connecting with the rest of the damage. Not quite yet.
And I have to say, though, right now, actually, Skarner coming up top might be able to engage the ward for 408. It does give him life. Morgana as a support, like I was saying, because she doesn't have that consistent harass, it's really important for you to hit those binds. And if you do, you're golden. And Muffin Cutie, watching him play Morgana in the past, he is just like a genius with that snare, because sometimes he'll pull off some really tricky maneuvers in order to get nice lineups, and he always hits them. Like it's impressive how many binds he actually hits. And that really makes that Morgana lane work, that his ability to hit this. Look at that one. That one's, nothing here is a mile away. I'm assuming he got the flash right as the bind hit, so it actually teleported the bind with him. But Muffin Cutie, we'll see how well he can do in this lane.
Look at that.
What a monster.
Every single one on point with the shove and more spinning axes. Aftermoo is just doing so much
Oh, man, that is exactly what I am talking about. Muffin Cutie's binds are just on point.
But here's the thing, even though you got the damage coming in, Ignite going down onto balls, 408 is looking to keep Yorick away just for a little while longer. The Ignite is now down. Ghost is actually still down for 408. Also, going to be a few more seconds, they'll be right back up. Axes from a distance just to keep balls at bay as he backs. So we got a little bit of money onto Olaf. He did actually back and he did re-up on potions. He did get his beer run done and over with. Is he going to stay? He's going to stick around.
Yeah, it is actually going to push into him, so he just has to wait a little bit, and the front minions are pretty, they're high, so he's actually not going to miss out on much CS. So it's a nice situation for him. But we'll see how they can do. Mono, they really need to, they don't want to be too aggressive early on. They want to just be able to win their lane matchups. They don't want to go for a number of kills, because kills would actually potentially benefit normal stars, because it's kind of a risky situation. So they want to just out-farm their opponents for the most part until, the 10-15 minute mark, when they're going to look to be extremely aggressive and just quickly snowball the game. Normal stars, on the other hand, they need to try and keep even with Mono, and then get Karthus in particular farmed. And Karthus is one of the easiest champions in the game to farm. Even if he does lose most matchups, he can farm evenly against anyone. And the key for Karthus, though, is it's against Draven. Draven, he has decent range, but the lack of mobility and having Karthus have the exhaust and the wall could absolutely wreck him in teamfights. So Karthus, if he gets the wall onto Draven later on in the game, Aftermoo is going to completely miss out on all of his damage, and then all of a sudden, Mono's team comp falls apart because if you miss out on that AD damage.
Not to mention that Karthus, he performs very well once he gets his AoE, once he gets all those layways, because remember that also Mono's team is a very close range team, which means that these later full 5-on-5 team fights, everyone's going to get caught up in the Karthus AoE. Katarina ulting on in. When you want the damage from Draven, you have to get very close. He doesn't have as much of a range. He needs to get very close to utilize all of his damage and most of his kit. Skarner has to get in for the pull. Muffin Cutie Ozar, he's going to be using the ultimate to get on in. So there's a lot of potential for damage coming from Jintei later on. But for now, though, he does need to farm, and Blue Buff will definitely help him off with that back in the mid.
Yeah, a slight advantage for Mandatory Cloud so far, but Jintei is fine. And Mandatory Cloud, he's fine with just farming at this point, so he needs to kind of get involved. We'll see how he tries to pressure this game at all. I'm kind of curious whether or not Kat is strong enough to take down Karthus, because I'm assuming that because of that lack of mobility with the ultimate, if Katarina tried to be aggressive against Karthus, Karthus would probably win that matchup and just drop lay waste onto Katarina. So for the most part, I would expect to see Mandatory Cloud play kind of defensively and wait for fights later on. There's a bind, the ultimate from Muffin Cutie. Aftermoo jumping in, almost picks up the kill. The ultimate actually misses, but JPack will not be so lucky. One more attack, Aftermoo picks it up. Very well done. Nice coordination from Muffin Cutie. And same thing too, like Morgana, there are a lot of supports that excel very well once you start getting bush control, Leona being one of them, Alistar is one of them also, and Morgana shares the same goals too. You control the bush, you can ultimate in like that, you can act like that. The binds, you're not quite sure where they're coming. They could be coming from anywhere in the bush. You have to be prepared for it, and just a little bit too far of a push
and the normal stars do pay for it in bot lane.
No one expects the Muffin Cutie binds.
No one ever does. No one ever does. I don't. We have observer vision, and we don't. We don't even know.
You don't even know, man, the horrors I've seen, but
Exhaust
the slow.
from Mandatory Cloud. As he's walking through the wall of pain, Ice Ball from Nunu Short Dog, gonna be picking up the kill down on the cat in the mid. But, ooh, I thought that one was gonna hit.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't even know.
At the very least, it zoned him off the minions for a little bit, allowed Aphromoo to get that damage. The turret is down to below half. The next time that they get a kill or force them actually to just even recall, they could pick up that turret and try and snowball. They probably don't want to. They probably want to leave it up for a little bit longer. But around that 15-minute mark, we'll probably see them drop it.
Yep. Xmithie guarding the mid just for a little bit, grabbing up some of that farm as Katarina is dead, has to come back.
That's usually not an ideal situation.
Yeah, not the most ideal situations, but Katarina does have the revolver, does have those magic pen boots, so still the damage output has now increased quite a bit for the cat. Meanwhile, on Karthus, he does have the Catalyst, so working for that Rod of Ages, always a good item first on to Karthus. He does want to be a little bit tanky as he's going into those layer team fights, so he doesn't immediately turn into a zombie.
It's also going to allow him to just easily win that lane matchup because he's kind of concerned. Cat's constantly harassing him. He can't really do much to Cat, but he's always going to be concerned about Cat trying to quick burst him down, particularly if Skarner comes into the mix because of Skarner's killing potential. Having that Catalyst, Rod of Ages is pretty standard, but it will allow him to not die against Cat. It's just gives him a little bit more HP, some HP regen as well, so he can farm in confidence.
Yep. Short Dog actually sneaking into the top lane, trying to get the jump down. New York J-Back is stunned right out in front of the tower. Muffin Cutie, the ultimate is up, but they don't even need it. Aphromoo with all the damage down onto the Sona, gonna make quick work down there, down in the bot lane. Who's getting low? Nothing here is also still getting low, but the ultimate was used earlier, and Skarner and Cat have already started up onto the dragon.
That is an absurd amount of damage.
It
And
is.
the previous times that we have seen this mono comp, they've actually run Varus in it. So Varus was part of the strategy. Varus had that long-range damage, but it allowed either Varus or Morgana to pick someone off. And, Varus, I don't know, it had worked pretty well. It gave him a little bit of AoE, but Draven's early game damage is actually a little bit stronger than Varus's. He doesn't have quite the same range with his abilities, but
and when we saw Varus, he wasn't running 25 armor pen on runes, which is a huge difference, especially on an AD with a lot of damage.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely crushing. He is insta-killing J-Pack, and really any time that J-Pack gets hit with a snare, he has to expect that he's basically going down, and he's really far behind right now. Level 5 to the level 7 for Morgana, level 8 for Aphromoo. So, we'll see if they can actually start to zone this lane. Nothing here, they really need to keep Ezreal up farmed, because if Ezreal isn't farmed, he misses out on his whole early game advantage, and right now, Aphromoo is crushing him.
Look at that one bind, and that is half of your health. Nothing here, just the spinning axe. There's too much to deal with the flash from Aphromoo, but nothing is there. Nothing here was just not there.
Yeah, trying to pick it up so close.
Out of range. Short Dog now making his appearance down into the bot lane. Looking to scare off the Draven just a little bit. And I'm hoping, let's see, what's he got in the IPL so far? He's got his 2 GP10s. Hopefully he'll be looking to invest into an Oracle soon, because there are still plenty of wars to be taken care of. Not as many as the stars have around the map, but it's still a bit of an annoyance. And this ward coverage from Mono is really just preventing every single gank that may come their way.
Particularly since normal stars, they want to stall the game off a little bit. So that Oracle's, it'll prevent Xmithie from being as aggressive as he wants to be. And so far, we've seen pretty passive play from Xmithie. He goes for those early goal pretends. And that's kind of an interesting philosophical difference between regions that we kind of always talk about. The Korean region, how, a lot of those teams, Najin Sword and whatnot, they go for the, and IG, they do as well, in China. They go for the early mobility boots.
Xmithie coming in from behind, getting the impale down onto Ezreal, followed up with the Morgana ult. They just really want to make sure he's dead. That's the extra insurance you got on there. That is one dead Ezreal. Good assist there from Xmithie, and now Aphromoo and Muffin Cutie are free to push this lane as much as they want. Sona Reknet, J-Pack, he knows there's nothing I can do here. I'm only just dead weight if I stick around. I'm just another kill. We're just waiting to happen if I stick around the tower. I'm just going to back off for a moment. Mandatory Cloud going back, trying to bait out something from Jinte. He's like, I just want to make you waste mana, and looking to steal the Wraiths while they're at it. 408, how's he been doing? Drastically behind in farm. That's what he's been doing. He's not doing too good. He's about like 30, 40 behind here on top of Balls. Balls, who does have his tier, he's looking to spam out. He could get the Manamune later for a little bit extra damage also, but he's stacking 2 GP10s also.
Yeah, and that is a pretty common build onto Olaf. The MR as well, it helps protect against the range harass from Yorick, because Yorick's range harass is magic, whereas his up-close harass is more physical. So, you know, it kind of allows him to farm, but he is being kind of bullied around right now. The big concern is that Mono, they have normal stars in their back pocket in bot lane. Like Aphromoo, he has them completely under his thumb. Like, there's not a whole lot that you know, they can do to pressure him right now. And Nunu isn't a very aggressive jungler. He's a safe jungler. He's someone that, you know, helps you control the early game. He can counter jungle very effectively. Skarner's not very, or he's generally not very susceptible to counter jungling though. And as a result, Short Dog doesn't really have a strong role in this game so far. He will be able to protect his team. His ultimate will be very strong to keep Mono, you know, at bay, and also try and shut down Draven. But right now, they don't have a good comeback mechanic. They don't have a compelling means for them to get back into this game in that bottom lane.
Yeah, I'm wondering how I think there may actually be a turning point where Short Dog may even become like irrelevant, because he's not capable of...
Say it ain't so, AJ. Say it ain't so.
I'm saying it may be, because he does have the snowball. He's looking to help the team grab up those kills. Granted, yeah, Blood Boil on a few champs, especially in Ezreal here, is very well done, but Blood Boil on a carry who's already underfarmed, it doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. 408 with the axe, looking to get the slowdown on the Balls. One doesn't even get the reckless swing, misses the second axe. That's a ghost blown there in the top lane, and Short Dog just could not help. Just could not close the gap for a little bit extra damage. Spinning next, down onto nothing here, is shoved to the side. And this next minion wave that's pushing down, maybe more enough for Mono to take out that tier 1 in bot, and you see Ezreal and Sona actually backing off accordingly.
Yeah, and this will be a tower for them if they decide to take it. Xmithy is controlling both bot and mid for them, so he wants to make sure that Nunu doesn't really have any options here, constantly clearing out those wards. Nunu, later on in the game, once he has some armor, he's going to be able to just run at Aphromoo, though, and that's going to be his strength. Not necessarily the Blood Boil for the AD carry, though that will help nothing here. Here's some. It's going to be the anti-carry status. Like, he just needs to put some pressure on Aphromoo, and their whole team is actually designed to put a lot of pressure on Aphromoo in team fights with Olaf, Nunu, and Karthus. So the big concern for them is if they're going to be putting this pressure on Aphromoo, that they don't kind of forget about Cat in the meantime, and that they don't fall too far behind where Mono can just continue to snowball this.
Wall Paint does catch Mandatory Cloud, but the ward and the Shunpo right on over will get him to safety. 408 still looking to defend this just massive waves every single time coming to the tower from Balls, and you can't take care of all of them. Olaf is going to be missing out on a little bit of that farm. Good continued coverage there top lane by the Yorick. Now you got Morgana and Skarner. They're moving on to the mid lane, but you do have the Ignite going down onto Olaf, forces him to pop the ult just to get the safety, and the damage output from Balls right now is very impressive.
Yeah, Yorick, if he gets off to a nice start, can actually, you know, continue to do well in lanes. A lot of times Yorick becomes, he is good harass, but if you can't harass someone down, then against a lot of bruisers, they can kind of just chase down Yorick and pick up a kill there. But if you keep up the pressure, Yorick does well the entire game, and so he's going to be able to start zoning off Olaf a little bit, and he has already. He's 50 CS ahead, and he has the damage now with Manamune, where he can just continue to win that lane, and that's actually going to result in Olaf continuing to be underfarmed as the game progresses. So, you know, that we'll see how that factors in, but not having enough damage or survivability on Olaf, it means that their whole team is going to be a little bit too squishy in these fights, because they need to continue building damage, but being behind on gold, it denies them the defensive items, which is going to allow champions like Morgana and Katarina to just really quickly snowball fights.
And also, speaking of damage, you look at the farm on both of the AP mids, it's before the 20-minute mark. Both of them are going to be hitting 200 creeps. So now's the point where you start looking at the damage output from both of the AP mids. And I mentioned this before from Katarina, has the DFG now. The damage output should be as such, is past level 11, does have a level 2 in the Death Lotus. That is 750 damage on the full proc. Aaron, whereas you look at Karthus, you look at Jinte, that AoE does quite a bit. You also got Requiem, is doing 400 plus damage. Both these AP mids are very volatile.
Yeah, they have a lot of damage to control those fights, but as we've seen so far, Mono, they have been playing kind of passively, and that was kind of what I thought this game would turn into. JPack could maybe get the ultimate. No, he doesn't actually use it. So he has it still. Skarner coming in, gets the pullback onto JPack, and Mandatory Cloud just instantly killing him.
Wow.
So that is a 5v2 situation that Smithy and Mandatory Cloud just won, and now they're forcing the fight with Muffin Cutie coming in.
Muffin Cutie, that rare in front with the ultimate. Gonna be getting the stun on 408 and a Jinte after move getting the kill on it to Ezreal in the back, but Hoop will go down. Smithy still lives, but you do have Nunu not too far away, and the Karthus ult also does get the kill onto Nunu, but a lot of damage, and Katarina with the triple kill, and that was technically an ace too. Sona was down. So with the push here, Aphromoo and Mandatory Cloud should be able to get the tier 1 here in mid. Balls didn't even really have to move. He's still top lane. That was, all things said, that was essentially a 4v5 that Mono won outright.
Yeah. And the lack of CC really hurt Normal Stars in that situation because they couldn't shut anyone down. Mandatory Cloud in particular, you saw that Katarina playstyle. He wasn't jumping in and being really aggressive and just like, yeah, let me use all my abilities. He was skirting around the outside. He jumped in, he got off his first combo, and then he relieved himself. He backed off outside of Karthus' range damage. And Mandatory Cloud, he was kind of skirting around for a while before he finally jumped back in again. That allowed him to survive through all of that Karthus damage and get the reset on his cooldowns so that he could pick up the rest of the kills, but it is almost a 10k gold advantage now, and that's really devastating for Normal Stars because they need to get into that late game build. Karthus can stall off fairly effectively. He can shut down a lot of pushes. So the real, their real goal is just to get Jinte so strong in this game that he can just single-handedly win these fights.
I'm looking at the damage output on Aphromoo now at this point, and if he has a spinning axe up, his auto attacks are 380 damage. That is ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. How much armor pen does he have? 31 plus the 10%. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy how much damage Draven can do.
And that's always been his strength. The concern has been his lack of mobility in fights and the fact that he's a single target damage dealer. But compared with Caitlyn, who's a single target damage dealer with half the damage.
Look at that!
And
That's
Draven,
2 shots.
He has the damage to make up for the fact that he's single target damage. Skarner chasing out 408 here. 408 uses the ultimate to get out of there. Smithy does back up, but right now Mono is in complete control of their jungle.
You got the bind, Short Dog dodging that one. He's still got blood boiled, he still has it move speed. Here comes Aphromoo on from the side, throwing down the ult in front, a little bit more damage. Here comes the Sona ult. The keep Mandatory Cloud still just for an extra second before he actually grabs that kill. Muffin Cutie does go down in the Karthus ult, but you still have the double kill credit for the Katarina and Aphromoo. With everyone scattered, doesn't quite know where to go, but that's okay. He's got a nice wave here to farm off of, and he can get some free damage down onto the bot tier 2.
He's very close to taking it as well. The attack speed that you get from your W is just so painful. And being able to take out Karthus, they're able to continue pressuring all the lanes, and they're making sure to keep all the lanes pushed while they're forcing these fights in the jungle. It gives them that map control, so they constantly know where Normal Stars is. But it also means that when if Normal Stars is able to win an exchange, they're not going to do anything with it. They just won't have enough time to take anything from Mono. Aphromoo drops the tower though. Now he's chasing after nothing here. Can he pick it up? 408 going in after balls. He's very close to grabbing it, but the Ignite and the minions, they take him down. Those ghouls were just too strong.
Very well done by Balls there, and he still is keeping it.
Oh, he's got it. Karthus, is he? Yes, in the base.
Does get it as he's returning to spawn. Very fortunate there for Jinte, but it was a little bit of a lucky grab, but he just had the timing just right. Aphromoo still pushing down bot lane, and there's a little bit of luck involved in that one. There was just a little bit.
He knew he was low. You press R with Karthus when you know someone's low.
Yeah.
There's no luck in pressing R. That's that's what the ability says. So he's able to pick that up. Aphromoo is just being incredibly aggressive though, going in after nothing here again. If he can get the attacks, he has to retreat though because Karthus is incoming, and that's a really dangerous situation.
Where's the wall? Pain. There it is. Aphromoo is caught a little bit.
He has nothing here.
He does still get the kill onto Ezreal with the ultimate. That boomerang It's just a little bit too much to handle.
Aphromoo just stepping it up.
Wow.
Nothing here. He had the range. He could have stayed back a little bit of a second, but he just came in vision of Aphromoo. I believe he might not have even been in vision. It was very close. I think he was in vision, though.
Listen, it's the ult, though. I mean, it's essentially a global.
Well, but the question is if it was a blind ult or if it was if he had seen Ezreal, and I think it was blind, but it was just around that range where you're not sure.
That's a good educated guess too at that. But 24 minutes in, an 11K gold lead here for Mono. It's nearly a done deal. There's just so much gold being distributed. There's so many kills, so many Fed champs. Cat and Draven, the two carries.
Olaf catching up Morgana, though. They're trying to come in for that blue. They can stand proud.
They can. You got both wards in the brush, but it is a pink on the side of normal stars. We'll be getting a little bit less vision, but Xmithy out in front. He can get the impale if he wants to. Wall of pain keeping everyone away. Those layaways also coming on in for a little bit extra damage, but Mandatory Cloud waiting there onto the side. The blue will be taking Xmithy ground down. There's the impale down onto nothing here. This is a familiar spot for him to be in, taking a whole bunch of damage, but there is the Death Lotus. Does get the kill onto Nuno before the ult completes. Double kill onto the Olaf. Nothing here, still taking quite a bit of damage. Mandatory Cloud right there on the Oscar. Gente looking to suicide, but cannot get the kill onto anybody. Xmithy keeping Ezreal and Sona away, while the wave continues to push, and Draven all by his lonesome taking down to tier 2 in mid and continuing on to the tier 3.
It's the Death Lotus with the black shield, otherwise known as the Black Lotus, the
There
most feared of all cards. But we'll see. They are pushing in, grabbing the turret. They will be able to grab the inhibitor as well. The late game was very strong for normal stars, but they didn't have the team that could fight early game. Like their early game team fight control is just atrocious. And considering that Mono, they went for such a strong early game team.
Yeah.
They just couldn't overcome that fact. So I don't know. We'll see. It is a 16K gold deficit right now, and Mono, they are completely in the driver's seat.
16K and widening every single one of these fights. Mono just takes that with just absolute sheer dominance. Dragon is still up. Baron is still up. Mono has complete control, not to mention this amazing ward coverage also. If normal stars cannot leave their base really at this point unless risking death here, as we've seen before. Everyone backed. What's everyone buying? You just got more pain coming in for Katarina. You got the death cap. You got the somewhat delayed haunting guys, but that's fine. Draven, Phantom Dancer, Bloodthirster, another BF sword to add damage on top of that. I'm kind of afraid to hover over the Q. 237. That's over 500 damage per spinning
You also
axe.
get about 100 from your passive, so
oh, God.
keep that in mind when you're considering Draven's damage.
Oh God, I keep forgetting about that thing too. Jeez. It seems unfair to me. 600 damage in auto attack, this is wrong on so many levels, especially with all that armor pen. 408 looking to 1v1 Xmithy.
Oh,
and
that's
he's losing
sad.
terribly. Has to ghost and ult just to get away, and he might not even make it. The ghost wears off, the ultimate wears off. Aphromoo looking to 1v1 nothing here. Chunk, 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 and you are gone. 408, can you get the base? Can you get the savior in tier 3? No, you cannot. Here comes the impale and the duels to pressure down all the damage, and no amount of reckless swings can get you out of this one. I think we may have to just call this one. This is just ugly.
Should we set a time for that, Doctor?
They still a few more minutes to live. A few more.
But Skarner, Skarner's damage is very strong and he's pretty tanky. His sustained damage is very powerful, but when your top lane loses to the jungler, that's never, a great situation. They grab another inhibitor off of it, and another 15 seconds until Olaf is back. So we'll see if they just pressure in. Muffin Cutie just continues to throw off those binds, trying to get him, but there's the Black Shield on Mandatory Cloud, just harassing him down a little bit. Smithy chases him down. They're actually just forcing him off the turrets for Aphromoo, and they don't even need to win this fight. They just need to zone them for a second because there are enough minions for them to win this.
You got Aphromoo with the ult straight on, and the fountain is taking care of plenty of champs just on its own. Plenty of damage coming in, and Balls right on front taking all the damage. Aphromoo looking for kills just for fun. Nunu ult will actually take care of him, but there's so many super minions, there's so much pressure. I think at this point, Mono's just having fun with it. You got the Wall of Pain down onto Muffin Cutie. Layways do quite a bit of damage. Here comes the card. This ult should be able to pick it up right as the shield, actually just goes right through the shield even, but more pressure. Their top lane, you got Balls with the ghouls clearing the way for more minions to start working, go to town on the top tier 3. once everyone comes back up, it's just a Baron take and a push, and that should be it for Mono. It's just going to take another minute or two to get there.
Yeah, normal stars, they're just stat padding right now. Make sure that you get those CS numbers up really nice and respectable so that when you take a look at the game later,
yeah.
you feel really happy with yourself. But we'll see what kind of a strategy they go with into this next game. If they can pick up a little bit more CC to try and shut down the Katarina. Blitzcrank was open, and Sona, as strong as a support as she is, she's incredibly strong. Blitzcrank actually provides enough CC single-handedly almost to shut down Katarina in fights. It's just very difficult against the Morgana shield. Like, that whole combo together works very well. So, that's going to be kind of interesting to see how they decide they want to deal with that. Whether their answer is to ban off Morgana, maybe. Since she did provide, those nice binds to help snowball bottom, but then also the black shield on Katarina is just, it's unbearable.
I think it's, in cases like this, you don't usually ban out the AD. Yeah, it is the support in most times. Draven, not really worth a ban. It's more around the team allowing him to be picked. Katarina's not quite worth the ban really either. Just a little bit of CC will do you on that one. Skarner on occasion. And we've seen also a few Yorick bans also.
And also, there's the fact to consider that Mandatory Cloud was passive through most of the game.
Yes,
he was just kind of sitting back farming. He didn't really mind anything. They were already getting a lead before Mandatory Cloud did a single thing in this game.
Right.
Is he doing very well now? Yes, he is. He's able to control the fights with the help of Morgana and Draven.
Yeah.
But the game started getting out of hand before that, and it was just farming advantages in a lot of these lanes. Smithy trying to get him in, gets the flash burn from Karthus, getting out of there.
And especially if you're playing against the Karthus. I mean, Karthus is a passive farmer in his own right also. So it could also just be a matter of changing your own APs to have a little bit more of an aggressive presence in there. But there you go, Balls just on his own, taking out the Nexus. This should be it. You got the Impale down. You also got Muffet Cutie with the ultimate. Just a few more kills before you finish this thing off. Mandatory Cloud will get to dive into the fountain. Will not get the kill, shutdown coming in, but that is more than enough. The Spinning X taking care of the Nexus, chopping it in half, and there you go. Game 1 gonna be going to Mono.Ferus.
Yeah, just really nice play all around. Mandatory Cloud looking for the Fountain Quadra, almost getting the Penta even at the end there, but not quite able to finish it off.
Yeah.
But still, that strategy, I love this strategy from Mono because it's very aggressive. The team fight control is very strong. One of the concerns is AD carry. If you're playing against a tanky team, that's kind of where this strategy falters late game, is when the enemy team, they have a very beefy team that of bruisers that Katarina just can't hit through. So Katarina, she has a decent amount of damage, but if you can't start snowballing and picking up kills to reset her passive, then you're going to kind of struggle in fights. And Draven, since he's a single target damage dealer, any single target damage dealer struggles against a tanky team that can just kind of rush you. They just kind of Zerg rush your team, and that's always the concern against Draven. So we'll see whether or not normal stars